So before we get started, I'd just like to clarify I have no insider knowledge at the moment, unfortunately. It would be great to have insider knowledge, but I don't yet. So this is purely my 2022 Cube release predictions. I did the same thing in 2020, and to be honest, I wasn't really that accurate. I got some of them, but not that many. So I'm going to try and be a bit more accurate this time. I didn't do it last year, just forgot, and by the time I thought about it, it was too late, really. So yeah, let's get into it. So we can start off with YJ. They released the MGC 5x5 and 6x6 at the end of 2019, and then the 4x4 and 7x7 in mid-2020. Despite them being quite old, I still don't think they're going to update them until 2023. And I think this is because there's just not that much competition. They are selling brilliantly. However, I think YJ are going to experiment with a Pyraminx and Scube to add to the MGC series. The reason I think this is because they really don't have any decent Pyraminxes and Scubes. The best Pyraminx they've got is the Yulong V2M Pyraminx, and they don't even have a magnetic Scube. Their Scubes, they have the Rulong and the Guanlong, which are pretty old. So, yep, I think they will release an MGC Pyraminx and Scube. I'm going to say the Pyraminx will be released first in May 2022, and then the Scube will be released 2 months later in July 2022. I mean, they're very similar puzzles in terms of design, so they'll basically be designed together, I think. So the first things worth mentioning, the Aosu WRM and Aochuang WRM are pretty old, and they're still, in my opinion, the best 4x4 and 5x5. However, my sales data would definitely disagree with that, with way more people getting the MGC. So, is that just perception? I don't know. However, I am going to predict it this year that they will finally release an Aoshi WRM and an Aofu WRM. I did predict that back in 2020 and they didn't release it. And I think the reason that they didn't is just sales. Like, not enough people want cubes like that, but I do think they'll finally release it if they can design something good. So yes, I'm going to predict that. Obviously the inevitables, I mean, just look at it. We have WRM 2019, 2020, 2021. Thank you for the smaller boxes, MoYu, unlike QiYi with their stupid giant thunderclap boxes that have got even bigger recently. Thanks a lot, QiYi. Yes, so I'm going to predict, obviously, a WRM 2022, which will have the option of getting it with maglev or the option of not having maglev. In fact, they might even try and design something that allows you to easily interchange between maglev and non-maglev, although I'm not sure how easy you can make that. And I predict the same thing with the RS3M 2022. So yeah, let's have a think about timings. So I predict an Aoshi WRM will be released in August 2022 and an Aofu WRM in September 2022. I'm going to predict that the WRM... I predict the RS3M 2022 will come out in June, and then the WRM 2022 will come out in July 2022. I think they will both be very good Speedcubes. I'm also going to predict with MoYu that they will capitalise on the success of the Meilong M series. It's been quite a long time since they released. They've currently got 2x2, 3x3, 4x4, 5x5, Pyraminx and Megaminx, but they have way more cubes that they could do. So I going to predict that there will be a Mailong M Scube, a Mailong M 6x6 and 7x7. The reason I'm predicting those is because they might as well. They've sold, the other magnetic ones have sold pretty well, and they already have base designs, so it's not going to be difficult for them to actually make a magnetic version. It's just whether they think it will sell. That's what matters to them. And the other thing is non-WCA. Mailong produce loads of non-WCA puzzles. I think they'll continue that. They'll make a few more. I'm going to call that they will release a 2x2x3 just like QiYi, because they sell well and they might as well create a rival in that market. And I'm going to predict they'll make a gear cube as well. When will they be released? I have no idea. So with QiYi, I think it is completely inevitable that they are going to release a X-Man 5x5. And the reason for this is that the agreement with Matt's Valk has ended, so production of Valk cubes has ceased, and that means the only 5x5s in production at QiYi are budget 5x5s, such as the GMS and GMP, which are good 5x5s, but they're not the best 5x5s that you'll expect top speedcubers to be using. Most of them are going to end up using either the Valk or the Outrang WRM or the MGC. So that means X-Man are inevitably going to release a 5x5 based on the X-Man Ambition 4x4. The problem is with this is, to be completely honest with you, these cubes aren't great. Tornado V2, Flare, the X-Man Ambition, they're not great cubes in my opinion. Others may disagree. So I'm a bit worried for QiYi's sake what they're going to do to try and remain competitive. I do have one prediction in terms of Tornado. I do think they will release a Tornado V3 in August 2022 that will come with core corner magnets as standard, because Jim Zhang said it was innovative, so maybe he's going to try and do that himself. As for the 5x5, I predict it will come in May 2022 and will hopefully be better than the Valk 5 and therefore competitive, but we shall see. As with the Flare, like, you can just look, there is a lock-up spot in the corner cutting that just doesn't exist on the Valk 2. The Valk 2 is brilliant. It can do it can corner cut anything pretty much. It has a full range. I think it was the first, I'm pretty certain it was the first 2x2 to have that. It needs setup. It's not good out of the box. It needs setup, but it is a good 2x2 when set up well. Other things QiYi will probably release, I'm going to predict they will try and make a Spark V2 in October 2022, and hopefully it will compete with the MGC and just be better than the ordinary Spark, because yeah, I think the Spark's out of production as well, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's about time they updated that, I think. At the moment, yeah, Zing S2, is it? Yeah, Zing S2. It's budget 7x7. Other things, I predict they'll release a Wingy Scube V2. The Wingy Scube is very old now. They released X-Man Bell Pyraminx V2M last year. They might as well just release, in fact that might have been even 2020. It's about time that they released a Wingy Scube V2. In fact, I'm surprised they haven't already. So yeah, Wingy Scube V2, July 2022. And also I'm going to predict that come April 2022 they are going to begin 10 by 10s and 11 by 11s to go continue that series, because I think if you release an 8 by 8 and 9 by 9 you're going to release 10 by 10 and 11 by 11, aren't you? Although it'd be interesting to see what happens with DianSheng and their magnetic 8 by 8 and 9 by 9 and hopefully more. But the interesting thing is with this is it moves on to YuXin.